Hello and welcome to Route 99. This is DPM052. The sheet contained an RC, a reading comprehension. It was a 515 word long passage. It was from the social science genre. Let's read the RC as always and try to answer that question. Try to answer the question that follows. Right. So the RC is from the social science genre. It talks about doctor strikes. Right. Let's go through the RC. Doctors strike present an ethical dilemma due to the perceived central role of doctors in relation to human health and life. Okay, so doctors strike, doctor's demonstration, doctor holding a strike is an ethical dilemma. Why? Because doctors are central to human health and life. Right, they play a significant role in human health and life. तो उसकी वजह से डॉक्टर का स्ट्राइक पे जाना एक एथिकल डिलेमा प्रेजेंट करता है. अंडर हिपोक्रेटिस ओथ द डॉक्टर इज कंसिडर्ड टू बी इन अ सोशल कॉन्ट्रैक्ट एंड इज ऑब्लाइज्ड टू ट्रीट अ पेशेंट्स हेल्थ एंड लाइफ एज अ प्रायोरिटी ओवर एवरीथिंग एल्स, एंड गोइंग ऑन स्ट्राइक इज कंसिडर्ड अ ब्रीच ऑफ सच कॉन्ट्रैक्ट. सो देयर इज समथिंग कॉल्ड हिपोक्रेटिस ओथ which says that a doctor has to serve a patient in any condition, any situation, above everything else. Right. So if a doctor goes on strike, he is breaching this contract. He is going against this contract. Though socialized medicine advocates that healthcare is joint responsibility of the state, the healthcare institution, and the doctors strike carry greater ethical predicament for themselves. So although this health or serving patient is a responsibility of three entities together: the healthcare institution, the doctors, and the state, the government. But just because doctors' role is huge in a patient's health, they have greater ethical predicament, right? Most societies seem to follow utilitarian view that pronounces strike is ethical only under condition that such actions carries greater good for the doctors and the society than the loss occurring as a result of the denial of health service to the patient during the strike. So there is most society believes in a utilitarian view. What is that? That अगर एक डॉक्टर स्ट्राइक करता है तो उस स्ट्राइक से जो बेनिफिट होने वाला है वो उस स्ट्राइक से हुए नुकसान से बहुत ज्यादा है. इन दैट केस द स्ट्राइक इज वेरी रीजनेबल, द स्ट्राइक इज वेरी लॉजिकल, वैलिड. बट हाउएवर द डिसीजन रिगार्डिंग व्हाट डिफाइंस द ग्रेटर गुड इज कॉम्प्लेक्स. बट ये अच्छा क्या होगा, दैट what is this greater good is still uncertain, it is still ambiguous, right? Considering the time frame required to become a qualified medical practitioner, a doctor's career path is not an easy choice. Working condition of doctors, particularly in public sector hospitals of developing countries, are a pity, right? So the amount of time and effort required in order to become a doctor is huge, and the compensation against it, the working condition of doctors, particularly in public hospitals, is a pity, is miserable. Added misery is brought upon by low wages, extended working hours, and a lack of safety and security. It is exacerbated. The situation is exacerbated by the low wages, no fixed working hours, lack of safety and security. So this all just exacerbate their condition. Lack of good governance is the main hurdle, due to which health is not a priority subject for policy makers and planners. So the governments as of now, for government, the health is not a priority, due to which the condition is just worsening. Yet the question of whether such adverse working condition for doctor justify the strike action does not have a straight yes or no answer. But just because their condition is such bad, does their predicament justify them going on strike? There is no clear yes or no answer for this. Suspension of care provision can be an effective way of pressuring the government to realize the consequence of a strike on the overall healthcare system. So although this could be a good way of pressurizing the government, but whether it is government's fault leading to such condition or a way of doctor to embarrass the government either way leads to a breach of moral contract between doctor and patient. So this could be the strike could be either to pressurize the government, or it could be just the doctor's way to embarrass the government. Either way, this leads to breach of this Hippocrates oath, this moral contract between doctor and patient, that a doctor has to serve the patient, the doctor has to prioritize the patient over anything else. The ultimate result is healthcare denied to the patient, viewing doctors' protest. So the ultimate result is the healthcare denied to the patients. So the result is that due to strike, the patient does not receive healthcare. Viewing doctors' protest from the perspective of socialized medicine might be perceived as a consequence of the government's negligence. But according to utilitarian theory and the Hippocrates oath, it does not void the moral duty of the doctor to prioritize patient's health. Right. So if you look at it from a socialized medicine, from a socialized point of view, it may seem that the doctor strike is a result of government's negligence. But despite considering this, this does not free the doctor from serving a patient according to utilitarian theory and Hippocrates oath. Historically, strikes by doctor were kept limited to non-emergency cases while keeping the emergency services functional. So earlier, there was a way of conducting these strikes. The doctor would only deny services to non-emergency cases. In emergency cases, they had to come back from the strike and serve the patient. However, the emergency as defined by doctor may differ from general perception, and delaying care to non-emergency cases could ultimately turn into preventable emergency cases. Right. So this definition of emergency, however, differs from doctor to general public. Right. So in non-emergency case could become an emergency case if not treated in time. Therefore, this mode of strike also bears moral repercussion for doctor. So this mode of strike also, this non-emergency emergency वाला mode, उसमें भी दिक्कत तो थी, उसमें भी there were moral repercussions for doctor. Strike may impact patients in the form of an increase in the severity of the medical condition, prolonging of suffering, irreversible damage to health or loss of life, delay in treatment or unwanted drug interruption, loss of work and waste of money on transportation. So these are the various repercussions, the consequences of denying a healthcare service to a patient. Suspension of public healthcare service turns the flow of the patient to the private sector. So if public sector healthcare is suspended, patient move towards private sector. Public health services are relatively cheap compared to the private sector, and therefore people of low social economic status may not be able to avail of healthcare at all. So the public healthcare service is cheaper. So the poor people go to public health services, but if these are turned off, then they'll have to go to private sector, which is costly, and that is why some of them may not get treated at all. Right. So that was the RC. I hope you understood it well. Let's move on to the questions. If a doctor in a developing country go on a strike to protest years of underfunding public healthcare, resulting in outdated equipment, supplies shortage, inadequate staffing, and unsafe working conditions, then the author would most likely agree with which one of the following? Okay, the strike is unjustified since people of low socio-economic status would be affected by it. Calling it unjustified, so if you look at the passage, since the starting, author has taken no clear stance about something being justified or unjustified. He has been time and again saying that this is a very subjective matter, there is no yes or no answer for it being justified or unjustified. If it is for greater good, it is justified, but the definition of greater good is still ambiguous. So calling it unjustified does not align with the argument made in the passage. So this is wrong. The strike is justified. Calling it justified is also wrong. We have to take a neutral stance. There's a dangling stance, right? No yes, no no. Right. So this is also wrong. The ethical implication of the strike cannot be evaluated solely on the utilitarian principle. Yes, this could be it. Author who could agree with this, that the ethical implication cannot be decided solely on the basis of utilitarian principle, because what utilitarian principle says is that a strike is justified if it is done for a greater purpose, if it outruns the cost, the loss incurred because of the strike. So that could be it. The issue should be evaluated in the framework. What framework was provided by Hippocratic Oath? Was there any mention of a framework provided by Hippocratic Oath? And even if there is, this is also, the answer would come out as ambiguous. This also cannot be true. Hence 3 is my correct answer. Which one of the following, if true, is least compatible with the utilitarian view as mentioned in the passage? What was utilitarian view? That something, if done for a greater good, is good. That was utilitarian view. Overworked doctors go on strike, compelling the healthcare system to hire more staff and thereby reduce medical errors in the long run. This is our greater good, reducing medical errors in the long run, and this is compatible with the utilitarian view. Doctors strike due to chronic shortage of essential medication, pressuring the government to allocate more funds for medicine. This is also compatible with utilitarian view. They are doing it for greater good. They are asking for essential medication. They are trying. Okay, so this is also in alignment with utilitarian view. This is also correct. Doctors strike due to lack of essential life-saving equipment. Again, greater good, leading to immediate funding and acquisition of ventilation and defibrillators. This is also correct. They are doing this strike for some greater good, some life-saving equipment, some ventilator, defibrillators. This is also correct. This is also being done. The strike is done for a greater good. Doctors go on strike demanding the right to use an experimental treatment that has shown remarkable results in controlled environment. Is this done for greater good? No. And this is my correct option. This is the least compatible with utilitarian view. Right. 4th is my correct option. Question number 7. Each of the following is not a valid inference from the passage except, we have 2 negative, not a valid inference except, that means we are looking for a valid inference, not an invalid inference except we are looking for a valid inference from the passage. Strikes in the public healthcare system can put pressure on the private healthcare sector. Okay, so this seems like a valid inference, that is the public healthcare is turned off if public healthcare workers are on strike. This might put pressure on the private healthcare sector. Okay, so this seems like a good option. This could be inferred. People of low socio-economic strata do not have access to private healthcare system. Yes, this is mentioned in the last line of the passage, that they might go untreated at all. So this can be it. This also sounds correct. Working condition of doctors are indirectly linked to the quality of healthcare patient receives. How can this be inferred? This is completely irrelevant. Right, this is not mentioned anywhere in the passage. What constitutes an emergency may be different from for the doctors and the general public. Yes, this can also be inferred. This is also true. Right, and this is also given in the passage. Emergency and general perception defined by doctors may differ from the general perception, and delaying care to non-emergency case could ultimately harm. This is the difference of the definition of emergency differs from public to doctor. Right, so this is also given. So maybe there's some error in framing the question. Right, so maybe they were asking, so even if we go through an odd one out logic, this all can be inferred, but this cannot be inferred, and this is my correct option. And maybe there's some error in framing the question, and we have inferred it incorrectly. But 3rd is my correct option. If we go through the odd one out logic, this is even, this is even, this is even, this is odd. 3 is my correct option. Which one of the following best describes the logical structure of the passage? Okay, this is a framework type question. The passage introduces a moral question. It kind of does. Identifies the key ethical theories in conflict. Examines influencing situational factors. No, and concludes by proposing a solution. This is outright wrong. It never proposed the solution. The passage introduces an ethical dilemma, discusses conflicting moral principles. Yes, it does. It talks about Hippocrates' oath. It talks about utilitarian view, exploring justifying circumstances. Yet it does explore justifying and examines societal repercussions. Yes, it does examine societal repercussions, but it never proposes a solution. The passage raises a societal challenge, discusses two ethical principles that can resolve the issue. No, not to resolve the issue. The passage presents an ethical issue, reviews contrasting ethical paradigms, identify the key player that exacerbates the dilemma, and dismisses the issue based on effects on community well-being. No, this is also wrong. Hence, 2 is my correct option. So that was the video, guys. I hope you understood all the question. Chalo, I'll see you in the next video.